Hi, Yelena. Thank you so much for your availability and to have you here. It's an honor to be talking to you. The Scenes from the Dark Ages presents a fascinating blend of medieval themes with progressive rock and jazz fusion, a lot of the different elements. What inspired you to create an album centered around the medieval era?
Yeah, mostly it's my childhood experiences with reading a lot of fairy tales, and I'm kind of old school. I read a lot in my life, so now newer generations they either play computer games or whatever, do like something else on the internet. But I the reading was my thing, and I started to read very early. My mom bought me a lot of great books. uh, Started with pictured books, and from I started to read when I was like 4 or 5, between 4 and 5, and because I had so many different books, and that was always I was always like fascinated about that time, all those pictures, all those images, and then in the school, when I was in school, we actually decided to do some like presentation, kind of like a story, and I wrote that story and wrote music to it when I guess it was in the fourth grade. And of course, that was you see, it's kind of like um, going we're go the fascination with medieval times was based on the books, right, based on fairy tales, and that's how it stayed because of course I learned a lot of history, and definitely my presentation of medieval times is not what really like historically correct, because like I only see the good part of it, the fun part, the fairy tale part, not like the hardships and a lot of those things that we know about medieval times. And of course not everything was bad, but you see my in some, maybe it is a bit naive, now when I am not a child anymore.
Yeah, you kind
I'm
of romanticize the Dark Ages.
yeah, but I'm still like but it's not like now I got this idea. That idea was kind of threading through my life. And when we actually we immigrated to United States, and we were kind of very limited, very limited in resources and everything. But my husband, who always supported me as a musician, um, and he decided that I need to continue working. And even though we didn't have means, he somehow managed to get me a MIDI studio, a little MIDI studio. So I was working there while raising children and being kind of a at home mom at home. So and that was I actually created that medieval project at that time. So only what I changed now when I recorded with live musicians, I created different arrangements, of course, including the improvisations and all kind of things, kind of reworked. But it was based on that like uh, years and years ago. So you see, it's not anything that I can say, okay, well, now I'm kind of very like already mature and getting old, and suddenly I got romantic involvement with medieval ages. So it's not like that. It's kind of like it's a tribute to my childhood fascination with all those images. And yeah, I even like I had a friend in school, and we played like she had a planet, her own planet, and I had my own planet. So my planet was full of castles and uh, all of that stuff medieval. That's what I dreamed about. So that, here you go, you're the answer.
Yeah, and it's quite funny to see that you brought back that from your childhood, and I think that some of the melodies and the parts of the songs actually come from some of your childhood compositions as well, right? How was
Yeah,
the process of translating them into the songs?
Yeah, well, actually, I did use uh, it's Spellbound Fortress has those four grade based on my four grade couple of tunes, and from the Life of the Lords, the last track, it has the same tune but in different way. Like it's variation, kind of variation of that same tune. So yeah, I mean, it's not exactly like I played it when I was in the fourth grade. It was just like whatever 16 bar progression or something, but I reworked it, of course, but it's basically based on the same couple of tunes. And I think it's just I was questioning myself, should I do this? But then I felt very strongly that I probably should because of all those you cannot please everybody, but you have to please yourself
Yeah.
always. And I felt like this would be fine. And I actually the result, I like the result, how it came out, even though with that childish tune.
Yeah, I mean it's not that childish, and you managed to keep essence to yourself and write a very interesting album around that. And also, this album has a lot of paintings, musical paintings, and sound-wise, it has visual. It has sound-wise what sometimes you see visually. How do you balance that storytelling with more complex songwriting that the genre requires?
Yeah, well, the storytelling is what always is always present in my music, because I am that kind of musician who bases music on either feelings, but often on images of nature, on the stories. I actually real stories that there are some of my albums based on like stories I wrote, like Lonely Man and His Fish, Adventures of the Wildflower, and Lions. Like in Lions, I become a lioness and live with lions. So you see, so I always like to fantasize about
Mhm.
that stuff and write music that would express this. But here, of course, you say how it's to me those images, the storytelling part makes me write music easier, because I not just write the music, i I try to express something, and for me this is even easier than just write anything. So I start visualizing things like in Adventures of a Night song, for example. Um, yeah, there's several sections, and it starts like uh, maybe in the morning, the night saddles his horse, and the horse is neighing, and he puts his bag over, and he starts riding and gets out of the gate, and it's still kind of little dark, but it's so all of it is expressed. Then he's thinking about his mission, what he's gonna do, and he's carrying that important letter in his saddlebag that he needs to deliver, and there are dangers on the way because he is followed by the spies, all of that. And then he stops by somewhere, maybe in the inn, and he's very concerned about his saddlebag. He's keeping it close, but he's thinking about like whatever, he's tired. So the middle section, right? So yeah, for me this is what makes me, it's like a breeze. I'm just writing and writing because I have something in my mind that I am writing about.
Yeah, and you can listen to all of those little stories and all of those little things that you are saying inside the songs, and I think that's really, really good.
Thank you.
And one thing that also contributes to that is the varied instrumentation that you use on this album. Do you want to go a little bit through the process of picking the right instrument to put at the right time and everything?
Yeah, this is very, very important in my case because I don't have a permanent band like my band that would perform everything I would write, which I actually can't have my permanent band, like my band, because every project is so different from each other. So it does require different instrumentation and different um, musicians to play. It would be really like limiting for me to just have few musicians, even though the great musicians who would perform my music all the time, because and that's why every time I conceive the project, and every project is conceptual. So because of that concept, I have certain musicians in mind. I'm trying to think, okay, who would be good for this project, and it's not too much thought. It's obvious. Sometimes it's just obvious, like Trilok. Gurtu was obvious choice, and I started with him because I thought the drums are so important for this project, because the right drummer would stir it in the right direction, because I only play keyboards, piano, but the drummer is the one
Really
who
makes a difference, yeah.
I cannot really influence much, because it's like I don't write for the drums. Drummer just creates his own music, his own drum track, whatever. And yeah, so Trilok, I wanted Trilok because I thought this would be, he is energetic, he's genius in the rhythms, and also his work with Jan Garbarek, um, it's like I kind of focused on when I was, because he's fusion drummer, but it's not real fusion. So, but whatever he does with younger Barik is closer to what I had in mind. So I thought, yeah, Trilok would be, and it was not a mistake. It was great to have him, and he enjoyed it. And even though he said, I have to read so much, I have to never do that, because I have my scores. And but yeah, it wasn't too bad, because music is kind of like, it may be when you see the charts, you say, oh yeah, but when you listen to it, it's not that complicated. It's intentionally I kept it more simple. It's more simple than some of my other projects, than kind of like, but intentionally, because there was images required. I didn't want to go into the avant-garde, right, because
Yeah,
that
yeah.
wasn't what would suit, in my opinion. I wouldn't suit, because I like that, but I stored away from it on that record. And maybe some people would say, oh, that's simple. I'm not simple, but you have to do justice to the project, right? That the project
Yeah.
required more like simplicity, more like vivid image, like more like uh, not like impressionistic image, but like bold and bright.
Yeah, and that way it also makes justice to your younger self, to the inner child that you have, and that dreamed about nights and castles and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and you said that it's hard to keep a band, as everything demands different instruments and different instrumentists. Maybe that's why you changed from a trio or a quartet that you had in the past albums to a sextet that you have in this one, right?
Yeah. I had already succeeded on Better Than Gold and Silver, and I'm a Stranger in This World, and Adventures of the Wildflower, more instruments. So again, because it's not the first time I had succeeded. Um, and yeah, I started with trios, um, but then, of course, you know, when I started in 2010, actually, this year, 2025, it's marks 15 year of my like proper releases, and I kind of like I'm gonna celebrate this later. A little later, I'm gonna kind of officially celebrate this anniversary. But yeah, those first proper albums, jazz albums, they were like a, I was scared. I didn't know. It was my first time I started to do that with great musicians and live recordings. So and then I definitely kept it to the piano trio. And then I started to venture to the adding other instruments, and but I will never do like a big band or anything, because I think it's sextet. Maybe not even all songs have all six performers, because some songs have only like 4 or 5, and that's how I always do it. I want to keep it more intimate, and just only add instruments when there's obvious need to add them.
And how does working with a bigger band like this one influence the compositions that you created? Do they change a lot based on what you had in mind previously?
No, not really. Well, there's always a way to rearrange stuff, but I wanted definitely all those instruments, but sometimes you can rearrange if necessary for a different band. For example, when I released A Touch of Radiance, and we had a performance, CD release performance at Jazz Standard Club in New York. Unfortunately, Joe Locke, who played vibraphone on that record, couldn't make it, and then George Mraz, no, George Mraz, yeah, he made it, but yeah, Mark Turner couldn't make it, the saxophone player. So I had to uh, drop the vibraphone completely and rearrange everything. And of course, invited a different saxophone player. Donnie McCaslin played. So it was kind of challenging, because if you drop the whole instrument, the whole, you have to rearrange everything. Like, but you can always do it as long as there's music, and you can, okay, not bad at all. So what we played actually worked too, like, as a quartet, not as not quintet like was on a Touch of Radiance. So, but once I picked and actually got approved by Trilog that he would do this, I started to look for musicians around, because Trilog wanted to record in his studio in Italy. That was the studio, Digitube studio, that he is based on in Italy. He likes that studio. He likes Carlo Cantini. He always works there when he records his own albums and whatever. So already gave me the dates and gave me the studio. Then I was looking for other musicians who would, and some of the musicians were recommended by Carlo Cantini. For example, he recommended me Carlo Nicita on flute, which, he's just genius, and I never knew about him. So that was really a great discovery. And then I kind of discovered Riccardo Bertuzzo on my own, actually on the internet. I said, okay, let's see who is a good guitar player in Italy. And I found him. Actually, I'm very, very, very happy. Was happy and now happy, because we still continue working. And yeah, so who else? The bass player. Yeah, bass player was gonna be different one, but then he couldn't make it, and so on a short notice, I found Ricardo Liva. But yeah, it's like yeah, every time when I search for musicians, and sometimes things don't work out, maybe planned for one, and then somebody cannot do it suddenly, and you look for substitute, but it always works out great for me. I was never sorry for any of my lineup, especially this one. I think just created such a different sounding album because of those also the contribution of those musicians.
Yeah, and so you said that this was recorded in Italy, in Mantua, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason for that was because of Trilok, right?
Well, I guess so. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, really like uh, yeah, I like to go to record in Europe, but I also record, of course, in the United States. But sometimes I invite European musician to United States. Like I invited Ariel Anderson to California to record with Peter Erskine, and to New York to record with Billy Hart. But also I went to Oslo and recorded with Ariel in Oslo. So it's like yeah, it depends on who else is playing on the record. So that's why, yeah. And this time I didn't have any American musicians in mind. So yeah, Italy, and I've never been to Italy before, so that was great to go to Italy. I never can go just see the country or see the sightseeing. I always go somewhere for business, and that gives me opportunity to like Portugal. Like if I go to Portugal to record, I'll see some of the Portugal, have a
Yeah,
feeling. But otherwise, I would never go there if I don't go for business. I
yeah, and
can
and I guess that recording in Mantua also had the charm of being closer to the theme of the album than it is in the United States, right?
Yeah, of course, Europe has so much more history
Mhm.
in those castles, and yeah, of course, that was inspiring to be in Italy recording medieval project rather than recording it United States, which is a younger country.
Yeah, and it was recorded over just 3 days. Do you want to go a little bit over the process of recording it all?
Well, you'll be surprised, but we recorded everything in 2 days.
Even quicker.
In 2 days. But one track, Cathedral, uh, was only like basically it was my MIDI instruments, and I only had Carla Nichita to do the flute. So we had 15 tracks on the record, but 14 actually. Pretty much 14 we had to record. We did it in 2 days, and then on the third day we did the videos. And video takes actually I actually all the video takes we did, five, I think five, they were good enough to publish. So I actually published them on YouTube as a and it's a different takes, not no, except one tournament went exactly on from video take on the record, but other video takes were just video takes, and the I chose another versions for the record for the
Mhm.
CD. So yeah, so we in videos in interviews like I always like to record like what musicians think about the project. So in my EPK video EPK, they all talk, yeah, and my video applications are so long always like, and not like maybe engaging, like short clips and everything fast moving, but that's how I do it, because if somebody is interested, that would be interesting
Yeah, exactly.
to see everything.
Yeah, and if you recorded it over just 2 days, then I'm guessing that improvisation have a big part to play also on the compositions, right?
Well, of course, improvisations are what happen spontaneously, and but when you have great musicians who who are great improvisers also, they just uh, they just do it pretty much, do it for the first time great, and second take to also great, and then I choose which take maybe I like more, but it's never like a problem for me, never like something that I would be not satisfied with. Well, that's why I choose those musicians, because they can do it. They
Yeah,
can do it fast, and we do one, two takes, three takes the maximum. and that's done. That's why, well, if people would know what to do, if I wouldn't know what to do, I always know what to do, and I see, okay, we can move on, or we can record this section again, or we do this. So that's why it's possible for me to record fast. Well, maybe I also have a lot of experience in those 15 years, all those
Yeah.
recording sessions, and they were always very intense because I have a lot of material always to record. But somehow, I learned how to do this, not to waste time, but also not to first or second takes are always fresh. If you, there is like a rule for me, if you cannot record it in 2-3 takes, forget about it, because it's already going not like everybody's just no. So that's why but yeah, those musicians were all like extremely professional and extremely efficient, and it was a joy. We did not struggle, I don't think so, with anything. There was nothing. There was no troublemaker also. Sometimes there is a troublemaker on the session, and sometimes it's, for example, even a video guy could be troublemaker. Well, there was a like anecdote maybe when we recorded Lions. No, Touch of Radiance we recorded, and there was a video guy, very nice, professional video guy, but he made the video of the take we did, and then when we stopped, he said, "Okay, well, that's great. What can you now? You do it again." And Billy Hart said, "What? Who is that? Who are you? Are you a producer? Are you telling us now what to do?" It was just, everybody was so outraged. I thought like it was almost like Billy Hart is gonna leave the room now. See, it was really like unfortunate, and it's like the guy just didn't realize that he shouldn't have done it. But it's just a little anecdote. But sometimes there are problems, could be, with the musician. But on that session, we didn't have any.
You already have over 20 albums released throughout your career. How do you see your evolution as a composer and as a musician overall?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I started to my actually journey in music very early. So my evolution as a musician, of course, started much earlier. When I was still in school, I was trained as classical pianist, and then I started to be fascinated with other styles, and yeah, even like played in some bands, jazz rock band and jazz band, and so it's like but I always wanted to play my music. If it would be a band would play my music, but it never happened in until like I started to do it in the United States. But my music, I guess, was at that point not really something that those bands could play, but I didn't maybe realize it. But so I was composing always my music since like I was 4 or 5. My mom wrote it down. I still have that notebook with those little pieces. Yeah, so it's a proof that I always wanted to see the images, like birds and fishes and all kind of stuff. So, but every time I learned something new in music, some new style, acquired some new experiences, I kind of processed it, and I did not never would copy anything, but I kind of, in a processed way, I kind of like included it in my arsenal of musical tools, that composers tools. I kind of like, if I liked something, I got influenced by it, and so that's how it came to me. Like so I didn't know what style I compose in, but it was always like a combination of influences, but definitely based on my classical education, because I couldn't help it. I can't help it, but I have to have a structure. I have to have developments. It's not. It wasn't never my thing to just be like a singer songwriter, for example, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. I would never even create anything like this because it's too simple for me. I'm used to all those classical structures, and I definitely, yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's something that composers should use in the compositions, and that's why I kind of still feel like I am just a composer. I don't know what style. I'm a composer, modern composer who has all those fascinating tools to my disposal. And yeah, I always do in like the evolution happened because of those influences. When I started in classical, then started to hear Beatles and Pink Floyd in first time, and all those other groups. And sometimes I didn't even know what group it was, because in Moscow we didn't have access to those, it was all bootlegged. It was all like on tapes, or I have a cool tape, you want to listen? So people exchanged that. That was really like not easy to find. And but I was kind of progressing in that way, that I started to accumulate all those influences. And then when I came to United States, well, there's jazz, of course. I actually but it was traditional jazz at that time, because we were not, like I say, exposed to much of the Western culture. So, but all those traditional jazz musicians like Duke Ellington, Oscar Peterson, and Joe Pass, and that was something that was accessible a little bit. So we studied that. And when I came to America, I figured I actually not at once, but years later, when I started to work with local musicians for a little bit, I had my band here in North Carolina, and then I got introduced to contemporary jazz, like from Europe, from Nordic countries, and it was revelation to me because I never heard it, and I thought, well, this is kind of close to what I do. So, and that's why my first trios were kind of influenced by that. And I worked with Matt Swinding on bass, and Peter Erskine on drums, and Ariel Anderson on bass, and so it was like kind of like I was fascinated with this like discovery, and but it did not stay. Like I did not really. That's the reason I did not wanted to go with any label, because I thought, when my journey is good by itself, because I don't want to be tied up to anything. Like a lot of people said, oh, this is like ECM, like New Yorkers said, oh, this is the best about Glass Song. This is the best album not released by Manfred Eicher. And it was flattering, but then if I would go with this, I would always be ECM. I don't want to be ECM. I'm not, and never been. It just was kind of like touching, like here's, and I'm just touching and going forward. And that's what my other records prove, that I kind of like, I wanted to explore, and I still want to explore. I'm not done exploring. It's just, I'm very excited about what's going to come next, what next, where my development as a composer will get me.
And yeah, what is coming next? What do you have planned for your next project? I mean, if
Yeah.
what can you reveal about it?
Yeah, well, actually, the next after Scenes from the Dark Ages was already recorded last year in Sweden, with Swedish musicians, with Svante Henriksson on cello and bass, and Morgan Agren on drums. It was already recorded Swedish um, about Sweden, Swedish album about Sweden.
Mhm.
But it's going to be released next year. But this year I'm going to go back to Italy actually, and record another project, kind of a follow-up to Scenes from the Dark Ages. But it's not going to be no more medieval theme. It's going to be original story. I'm going to kind of
Oh,
fiction story about the island that is actually not on the map, and some kind of adventures that happens there.
sounds good. I mean, I can't wait to hear it. And maybe when those albums come out, we can also have a chat and talk about those new things that you are planning.
Sure.
And yeah, and this album is pretty hard, I think, at least to perform live, especially having into consideration that it's an international lineup. What are you preparing for live shows if you're preparing anything?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that, like you said it yourself, all those lineups,
Mhm.
it's actually pretty much impossible for me to tour and perform. It's just and also never been my goal to do that, because I'm so every time I finish the project, even before I finish, I'm already involved in another one. So
Mhm.
it's too much, but I want to record as much as I can while I can, because this is my composer's side. You see, the composer never is satisfied, even though like you have plenty of compositions. It's not enough, because you always want to compose more and always try to better yourself as a composer. um, and that's why I performed some, but it was like with trios, and like I performed with quartet. uh, but it was very hard to arrange, and it was like I performed yeah, yeah. Well, all my performances you can find on YouTube. There are some videos, not all, but most, some of them at least. And so basically it's not worthy of my energy. Yeah, I put my all my energy into recording, composing, making it happen, recording. And so, and I kind of like gave up on it. If that would be possible, yeah, it would be fun. Yeah, it would be fun to go on stage with Telogurtu and all of those and do it live. Even more uh, exciting would be, like, even like the music would be even like more exciting, I think.
Yeah.
But it's not possible. I mean, if somebody would sponsor it, somebody would say, yeah, I'll pay for everything, I'll arrange everything. Yeah, here we go. Tomorrow I'll
You would
do it.
sign.
Yeah. But for me, it's pretty much impossible to arrange
Yeah.
all those schedules, or and the financial burden of it also, because everybody has to be paid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
Yeah,
easy.
no, yeah. So basically, that's how it is. But you cannot have everything in this world.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. Well, Yelena, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here. It was an honor. Would you like to send any message to your Portuguese fans?
Oh, if I have any fans in Portugal,
I'm sure you
I
do.
I first of all, I'm grateful for that, and definitely want to thank them, and also encourage them to contact me, to message me, to find me, because that would be really, really great if I hear from any of my fans in Portuguese. And also, like, uh, yeah, I would encourage also those who just got introduced to my music via this last album, Scenes from the Dark Ages, I also encourage them to look into my other stuff because, like I say, no two CDs, no two albums are alike. So, and that's what I would want to tell them.